Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. What's up, everybody?
Good morning.
It's just me and you, Amy, right now.
We are the dependable ones.
Yes, these other guys don't know how to show up on time. Imagine that. Bodybuilders are flaky. I would have never guessed. I am
At least they're
OCD.
consistent.
I am OCD about being on time for everything. If I'm late, you better send somebody to look for me because something's wrong.
Yeah, that's it. If I'm not 15 minutes early, I'm late.
Yeah, I'm early for everything. I'm pretty anal about that kind of stuff. Just want to remind everybody before we get started, I have the Team Anabolic Bodybuilding site up. It's a school members site. If you want to ask me questions, to have access to ask me questions, but you don't want to sign up for coaching, my Instagram DMs are not the place to do it. Join the Team Anabolic Bodybuilding member site. I have a forum up there. I have videos. We do private Q&As here and there, video Q&As where I'll answer questions, and I also give people's questions top priority on my Q&As I do on YouTube. So if you want to ask me questions, it's only like $30 a month. Just spend the money. Go over there and you can join up and learn a few things from me and the other members. There's some other pro bodybuilders that are in there as well. So it's a chance to learn and support what we do here. Anyway, enough of that. It's funny this week. I made a post. I didn't think it would be this controversial. It kind of caught fire. It was a picture of me at 40 years old and a picture of me at 50. And I presented the question, I'm going to share it, of who was healthier in this picture. And oh my God, the comment section got lit. People, here's the picture. So people, well, first of all, there was a bunch of people who didn't believe that was me. That's how out of shape I was at 40 years old. And then I was on a bunch of medicine because I was basically fucking sick. I had high cholesterol, high triglycerides. My A1C was all fucked up. My C-reactive protein was all fucked up. I wasn't on anything then, nothing. But I was eating large pizzas and drinking milkshakes and not taking care of myself. I was active. I did do stuff. I played basketball, and this fat guy played basketball and did jujitsu, but I definitely was not taking care of myself from a food perspective. And it's funny, like the comment section, it's like nobody gives a rat's ass if you're drinking craft brews and eating pizza, but then you say you're on test primo and HGH and everybody's a health expert and says you're going to kill yourself. It just cracks me up.
What were the comments? Like, what were people saying?
Oh, the guy on the left is healthier. I deleted a bunch of them because some people were just like, you're going to die. I don't want my kids seeing that shit. When people come around and say you're going to die, like, I'm just like, really, man? Maybe I shouldn't take the comments down. I should leave them up there so people know what an asshole some people are. I guess I put myself out there, so whatever. It's up there for people to comment on, but it just makes me laugh that everybody thinks that the guy on the left, the fat guy, was the healthier one. Not everybody, but there was probably a third of the audience. Even though I can present blood work that shows that my blood work is normal. And look, I'm not saying running 3 grams of gear like you do on contest prep is safe. I'm not justifying that. The bodybuilders do some reckless shit sometimes. It's a dangerous sport. The analogy I always make is it's like driving a car 200 miles an hour around a racetrack, being a professional race car driver. You can put the helmet on, you can wear the fireproof suit, you can put the seatbelt and harness on, but there's only so safe you can make it. You can make it
Yeah.
safer, but it's still when you're competing at that high of a level. Even football, like football's dangerous, man. Guys get fucking killed on the football field. Happens. MMA's dangerous. Rock climbing's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, imagine, I think what you can't show in a picture like that is how would 40-year-old you look 10 years later if you had not changed your path? I mean, you're already on 5 medications. Imagine if you kept on progressing down that path. I mean, at 50 years old, like there are guys in their 50s who die of heart attacks. These are drop dead on the golf
Oh,
course.
I probably would have been dead.
Yeah.
I
So
would have. I was headed that way. I was headed for death. Somebody,
Yeah.
I think somebody commented, I already grabbed my nipple. There it is. The funky nipple.
It's your security blanket.
It's my habit. I'm like doing
Yeah.
subconscious gyno check to see if it's coming back.
How are you feeling, Nick? Oh,
Yeah, feeling pretty good, eh? Yourself?
I like the beard. Is this a winter look?
Yeah. Funny you said that. I actually used to have a real big scruffy beard because I was able to grow like facial hair pretty young, around like 19. And I think like most young guys, when you can grow a beard, you kind of make a point of it. It's kind of like making a statement sort of thing. And yeah, I've just been letting it grow back a little bit lately. I just kind of, I guess, miss it.
It looks good.
Appreciate that.
Somebody said, definitely impressive transformation, Paul. I think you should list the insulin, metformin, and 15 other pills on the right side. I don't take 15 other pills. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I'm not taking metformin currently. Literally right now, I'm taking Test, GH, Equipoise, and I did toss in some Dbol to get my estrogen back up. And I'm dropping I'm dropping the EQ because my estrogen's crashed, so I'm off of that. So really, I'm just on Test GH and a little bit of Dbol right now to get my estrogen back up. And I do take a beta blocker and a low dose statin just as a preventative.
How's the Dbol treating you?
You know what's weird? I talk trash about Dbol all the time, and it has had zero negative effect on me like it did in my 20. Probably because my estrogen's so low. Like I have had no water retention. I've had no gyno flare up. Nothing. like it's. I think it's because my estrogen was so damn low. This is the first time I've taken Dbol in 20 years. I thought about doing HCG instead. That's an option, I guess. But I figured I might as well get an anabolic in there. Since it's my off season. But you know, we're so far so good. But I'm only taking 25 milligrams. It's not like a crazy dose.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I mean, milligram per milligram, it's not as potent as some other compounds. So, like, yeah, that's pretty conservative. Yeah, it's funny. The Dbol thing is a funny one. Hey, I mean, all the guys in the golden era supposedly used it as their, I suppose, means of generating estradiol because they would run like testosterone-free cycles. Like they'd do like primo and Dbol, and that methyl estradiol would kind of serve as their test base, for example. It's funny how times have changed, hey. But I mean, it's a tool that does the job if you need it to do that. And I mean, I guess in your situation, like where you're running Equipoise, which is a quite long half-life, I'm sure you'd agree with me, like it's going to take a while before it comes out of your system. So having that Dbol in there as a buffer and I guess slowly tapering it as you no longer need it is probably the approach you'll take.
I should have just stuck with my tried and true formula of
Test and primo.
Test and Primo or Test and Master on. I wanted to throw some. I hadn't run Equipoise in a long time. I wanted to throw it in because my appetite sucks. I have a hard time eating. I'm like the opposite of everybody else. I just don't want to eat. I have to force myself to eat. Even on contest prep, like this year, I had to force myself to eat. I was never hungry on contest prep. And I actually ate less when I got off. I've lost weight. You know, this morning I was 247, so I'm less than I was on stage. But that was my thought process. But my estrogen, I should have known better. My estrogen was already low coming out of prep, and then it just completely crushed it. It was like non-existent on the Equipoise. Maybe I should have just run test by itself. It always laughs me though. I laugh when guys talk about you being on drugs, being on test and GH, and I'm like, they're bioidentical hormones, man. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
You know, look, I'm not saying that you know, there definitely is some danger. This guy's asking, jumping in late. So sorry if this has been asked already. Is Paul splitting up the Dbol into 2 or 3 doses since the half-life? Nah, I'm just taking it a couple hours before pre-workout. The pills I have are 25 milligram pills, so I'm just taking one.
And you're taking it more for the estrogen, I guess, effects anyway. So you don't need to keep it kind of constant in your system, and you just need that kind of influx of aromatization, and then that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Let's see. Big Hunan balls. I like that. Man, people online can be nasty. I always envision Cartman in his basement, crapping in the bedpan while his trolls and bodybuilders are online. Maybe forever blasting bodybuilders, not keeping dibs on bloods, not you. I do check my bloods periodically, and I get an echo done every couple years, and I get CT calcium scan done once a year because, as we all know, cardiovascular health is probably the biggest risk when you use PEDs, and it's, I mean, you're aware of that, Nick, but you got to pay attention to it.
Yeah, very well aware of it.
But it's funny how it affects some people and not others. So I think there's a combination of genetics and other factors that play into it as well.
Yeah.
You know, so
Multifactorial.
Yeah, like I've run probably way more than you ever have, Nick, and I've never had any issue. And I'm 50 years old. So it's probably just genetics for me. I've always had issues with cholesterol. My LDL will get high, but then when I get calcium CT scores done, they're always 0. And my lipoproteins are always in range, even with the LDL being high.
I think stimulants play a big role. I mean,
Yep.
I'll self admit, like, I mean, the last couple of years, I mean, well, anabolics wise, like you said, like, I mean, I haven't really ever ran that much. I mean, the EQ that I was running in Thailand was actually fake, so I was technically only on just 1750 tests a week when I was doing that. But my highest dose, I think in total, was like a period at the end of one of my cycles where I was just over 2 grams a week, which isn't much. But the stimulants, on the other hand, I mean, being on thyroid medication year round, on top of that, I was also having Ritalin in the background for my ADHD. I was taking modafinil periodically when I needed it, energy drinks daily. And all of those kind of layered on top of each other. I think that was probably more detrimental to my heart. And then the clenbuterol in my mini cuts. And then my last contest prep, the fat burners were pushed quite aggressively. So, I mean, I'd say more of my heart stuff was likely induced from that. Like, it's still unclear, and there's a chance I'll never know. But yeah, I think anyone who is concerned about the heart out there, if you're taking like stimulants, I'd probably be more weary, or at least just as weary of that as anabolics.
Yeah, I've thought about this before because you look at strongmen and powerlifters and you don't see the cardiovascular issues in that group that you do in bodybuilders. And those guys eat like shit and are not all of them, I'm not saying all of them, but a large percentage of them are obese. They certainly aren't doing cardio. And they take nasty stuff like Halo and Anadrol. And they don't have the cardiovascular issues that bodybuilders do. So it's got to be something to do with contest prep.
Yeah. And the GH too, I think, because powerlifters don't really use that much. They'll use like a replacement dose, whereas bodybuilders, especially using generics, I mean, or we should never use generics, we should just say UGL, GH. Like if you're using underground GH, a lot of the time, unless if they're paired with a diuretic of some sort like maltol, you're usually getting a lot of edema, and that weight from the edema can put so much stress on the heart, like it's not funny. And I think that contributes quite heavily. That, and then also it obviously contributes to the development or the worsening of sleep apnea, which in turn on its own can even cause cardiovascular disease and heart failure. I mean, there's a lot of studies out there showing like CVD can be caused alone just from one risk factor like sleep apnea. And so if you've got obstructive sleep apnea or even central sleep apnea, and that's exacerbated by GH, water retention, then you're screwing your heart in your sleep without even realizing it.
I wonder that too. Like, I never have had the issues with water retention. In fact, I stay super dry year round. If that,
I get real watery on GH.
Yeah, and if that helps me out with the, I never have water. I've competed at times and I don't even use a diuretic.
Yeah, that's good.
So there's something in my body where I stay dry. Let's see. What did Brandon say? So if we never go into prep, we can stay healthy. Perma-blockers and get drooling at the thought.
Not necessarily. I think weight is weight at the end of the day. I think like the biggest kind of risk factor is just the sheer weight that you get to, and again, that could be from edema or muscle or fat. I think the further you deviate from your baseline, the more at risk you are. Like, I mean, Paul, you stay quite lean in your off seasons. Like you said here, like you're struggling to eat enough to gain weight. So I mean, you're going to stay in a much better body composition state, and also your body weight in general is going to be lower than if you were to just be like, fuck it and just shovel the food in and somehow get to 300 plus. If you're doing that, your heart probably would be taking a lot more stress if you're over like 300.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about pushing weight up, but at my age, it's just not smart.
Yeah,
like, I don't think I'd let myself get up more than 260, 270 at the most. I mean, that's as high as I've been.
And you're pro
recently.
now.
I've been up to 300 before when I was in my 20s. And I did not feel good when I was at 300. Also didn't look good.
Well, body composition was probably a lot different then too.
Yeah.
Ryan was asking me, have you always had potentially high leptin, lower ghrelin levels just after starting androgens, referring to your lack of appetite, Paul? I have no idea. Like the lack of appetite came as I've gotten older. I could eat like a horse when I was younger. I think it has more probably to do with my IBS issues than anything. That would be my guess. I don't think it's a hunger hormone thing. I think it has to do with my stomach being sensitive, and like the thought of eating shitty food repulses me.
Well, and as we age, transit time naturally does slow. That's why you see elderly populations just not eating as much or being able to handle the same quantity, because it does kind of naturally slow down. I heard an interesting, I feel like we always kind of circle back to GLP-1s, but an interesting interview with an obesity specialist yesterday who was talking about, people are so quick to say now that because they take a GLP-1 that they have this, a deficiency or some type of actual hormone deficiency, and there's no way to test that. So I feel like that's kind of becoming I'm really interested to see what Kurt has to say about that as well. Like, do you think in the future we'll be actually able to test if people do have a true deficiency of these GLP-1 hormones, and then can kind of supplement at a level that brings them back to normal without being like crazy doses that are making people sick?
By the way, Amy, I don't think your main mic is connected. It sounds like it's coming through your computer.
Oh, not yet. So I'm going to try fixing that again. Sorry, I'm using a new computer, so I'm going to mute myself and try and fix it. Sorry, guys.
Anyway, I didn't know if you want to answer Amy's question, Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, I think in theory we could, but what it would show, I don't know. Right? And there's so many. I mean, how many hormones are there that communicate with the digestive system? It's not just the lack of that one.
Yeah.
Hormone.
It's crazy.
Right?
So many.
I mean, it's so complicated. And if they were using that as a determining factor, if they were going to prescribe it, I bet you 85% of the people getting it wouldn't be getting it.
It's interesting. Speaking of the GLP-1s, I've had quite a few people that have been experimenting with, run across quite a few people that have been experimenting with Retatrutide, and the improvements in blood work from just regular dudes, like after 30 days, it has been insane. Like I've seen crazy drops in
Justin.
lipids, cholesterol, triglycerides all improve. I had a guy that within 6 weeks he did a DEXA scan beforehand, didn't change anything with his diet, and he had 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of visceral fat, and it went down to 0 after like 6-8 weeks of using Retatrutide. I mean, it's crazy the stuff that I've seen going on with Retatrutide.
Yeah,
I just
that's impressive.
started trying it actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I figured I'd give it a try, so I had some personal experience for clients.
How are you finding it?
I mean, I'm at 2 milligrams. I haven't noticed anything yet. But,
Oh, that just started it. Okay.
yeah.
Also,
Like
improvements
Friday.
in A1C. I've seen significant drops in A1C with guys using Retatrutide. It seems to affect how you, even with no change in diet, it seems to affect how your body is processing glucose.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's a really interesting drug. I didn't see these with Ozempic with semaglutide, and it doesn't seem like the side effects are as bad either.
I haven't felt anything yet. I mean, again, I started Friday 2 milligrams, but the only other thing I've tried, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, that Jardiance, and that was absolutely miserable. That was the worst thing I've ever taken in my life.
Oh, what did you experience? Because I'm on that at the moment, and I get some kind of like symptoms from it.
Oh, I
It's
was
annoying.
like non-functional. I was so exhausted. I couldn't take 2 steps without going hypo. I mean, if I did anything, I went hypo. Just felt extremely tired. Like when you're like 2 weeks out in prep and you have no energy, you don't have any fat to burn, you're not eating any carbs. It just felt like that immediately. I felt absolutely miserable. It's possible that I was getting sick or something. I don't know. It's possible. But I made it 3 days and I quit.
What's your A1C, Justin?
Like 5.1, 5.2.
Yeah, that's probably why. It's not designed for people like us.
Well, that's what I wondered, and I did it when I was very lean. I was lean in like August and September. I dieted down, and I thought maybe I just didn't have. I had very little body fat and good blood glucose, and so there was, it was kind of spinning its wheels inside me.
Yeah. See, the only way I can get past the shitty feeling on it, because I'm only on 10 milligrams a day, but it's still enough to kind of send me a bit woo woo because my A1C is already low as well. Like it's 4.8, 4.9 without it, and then they've got me on that, and so I have to take methylene blue just to offset the tiredness.
One of my clients runs a clinic, and the MD in his clinic suggested that the Retatrutide may help with my pancreatic insufficiency.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So he told me that maybe I wouldn't try low dose, like 1 milligram, and see if it helps with that. He said they've seen some improvement with that if you have that issue. So that I'm gonna believe me, I don't need the appetite suppression because I already don't want to eat. So
That's what I'm hoping to see.
The appetite suppression.
Yeah. I always have a huge appetite. I'm not trying to carry a lot of weight anymore. I'm older. I just want to look in shape, and it's just always a struggle for me. So it'd be lovely to have a reduced appetite.
It seems like somewhere between 2 to 4 milligrams is where people settle in. When I looked at the clinical trial, they had people go up as high as 12, which is insane.
Oh, wow.
I had the 12. What was it? The 12 milligram group. It was like a quarter of them had to drop out because of side effects.
What side effects?
The side effects they listed were mostly gastrointestinal issues. Diarrhea, vomiting, nausea. That type of stuff. There were a few other weird things. There was some. I think there was some pancreatitis in the study. I saw with a couple people. There was.
See, and actually that's what I felt with the Jardiance. Now that it reminded me, I felt like I had DKA. like, you know, because my daughter's had that, and you can get, I read a weird, like, it's DKA without elevated blood glucose. I can't remember what it's called, but it's all the symptoms of ketoacidosis without, you know, extremely high blood sugar. And that's what I felt like. I remember my daughter, you know, she was diagnosed as type 1 at age 5, and I think around 7 or 8, she got sick, and then her blood sugar just spiked, and she got DKA. And I remember her, you know, explaining how she felt, and that's what I felt like. You know, as close as I could explain. It was terrible.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the phase 2. Yeah, it was most constipation, diarrhea, and vomiting were the most common.
Constipation and diarrhea. That's a brutal mix. I can't go, but when I do, it's violent.
Yeah, those were the most common. There was some, you know, it's hard to tell when you have a big study like that. Like there was like 1 or 2 people that reported elevated liver enzymes, but is that the Retatrutide or is that something else going on?
Yeah. Well, and also with self-reporting, I always wonder, you know, you feel like if you can imagine a patient in a clinical trial, you almost feel like you have to report something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always wonder how many things are, if you were not taking anything, would you report anything? Or do you feel, you know, it's like you got to like run through the list of things. How have I felt lately?
Well, it was hilarious that the placebo, some of the people in the placebo were reporting gastric distress.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, it seems like stomach issues were the biggest.
Similar to the whole like gluten intolerance thing. Oh, I'm gluten intolerant. I feel bloated after I eat gluten. It's like, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an article.
Or do you, or you just eat 900 grams of carbs?
Yeah. And like 10,000 milligrams of sodium.
Every time I eat pizza and beer, I feel bloated.
I wonder why.
Damn carb.
It's like a science experiment in your stomach. Yeah.
This is crazy. 24% weight loss after 10 months with no changes to diet or exercise. That's nuts.
Yeah. Closest thing to a magic pill, I reckon, that we'll ever get.
Yeah, it certainly sounds good.
Yeah, let me pull it up. I have.
It's funny though. You see the things cycle through the industry. 6 months ago, no one even knew what retaglutide was, or retatrutide, or Nabivolol. Now everyone of my clients wants to be on Nabivolol and retatrutide.
It's funny too. It's like, why Nabivolol of all the beta blockers? I get like the reason some of the people say, but I mean, some other beta blockers might be more beneficial in certain situations. It's funny how they just jump on the bandwagon of like this one specific drug in a class of drugs, but all the other ones in that class, they just don't. Yeah.
Yeah, they are quite a bit different. Like, what is it? It starts with a C.
Cavitilol?
Yeah. That's a stronger one. That'll really slow down. But there's a lot of beta 2 there's a lot of beta 2 suppression to where people get like develop like asthmatic type symptoms from it. But and everyone wants Nabivolol because they think it's gonna agonize the beta 3 receptors and they're gonna get some kind of fat burning or something out of it. I don't know how much. Yeah.
I think it was Lyle McDonald that said that.
Yeah, was it Lyle? Yeah. I saw AJ Sims write something about it too. But I see, it's like all at once. Every client wants to use it. So I knew someone on the internet posted something.
Yeah, Lyle, and then AJ had posted something about it, like running it in conjunction with clenbuterol.
See,
I will say this: if anybody knows how to get people ripped, it's
AJ's good. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. AJ's been doing it. He worked with Nate Wolf with me at Troponin when he was like 17 and 18, and even back then he was like wanted to learn everything. He knew he wanted to be a coach when he was like 17.
Yeah, didn't he move to Vegas?
He moved to Vegas.
Yeah, his mom moved him to Vegas specifically.
Trained with Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Follow Jay around. Yeah. I remember him telling I think you were with me, Kurt, but he was telling me that he followed Jay around, and then finally Jay was just like, "Do you want to work out with me?"
Yeah.
Jay seems like a pretty cool guy.
He
Like,
is, yeah.
he would just do that.
AJ's coach at the time, Nate Wolf, trained with Jay for like 3 or 4 years too. Yeah, I mean, you don't see many like top level pro bodybuilders that just, meet up and train with like a local gym rat like that. But he's a good dude.
Yeah, Jay seems like that kind of guy. Every time I've been around him, he's always like, he remembers who you are.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the guy he travels, 30 months a year or 30 weeks a year, and he meets so many people, but he'll remember your name. I saw him like 2019 or 2020, and I think I saw him in maybe like 2004, and he remembered my name and everything. I was like, good Lord, you need to go into politics.
Yeah, Jay Cutler for president.
Yeah, I'd vote.
Yeah.
Make America jacked
Oh my God,
again.
this guy
Yeah.
this guy asked this question like 5 fucking times. He's very intent. I shouldn't reward people that beg for question and answer. Does a natty lifter can use the macro that takes the fat as low as I was talking the other day. I did a video of bulking diets, and everybody gets concerned about their hormone levels when you drop the saturated fats. I have yet to see a single human being that's deficient in lipids.
Yeah, you're eating 5 or 6 times a day. Even if you're eating like chicken breast, you're still getting, I mean, the people worrying about like malnutrition and being deficient in it's like, the same thing anytime you don't put vegetables in a diet. People are like, well, am I going to die of mineral deficiency? It's like, no, we haven't had to worry about scurvy in 200 years. People in Africa eat 6 times a week and survive. You're eating 6 times a day. It's unlikely you're going to be dramatically deficient in anything if you're eating you're not eating garbage. You're eating.
You might be deficient of those fats that aren't essential. You make them.
Yeah.
They're literally produced by the human body. There's no saturated fat that the human body needs to take in.
And we make our own cholesterol. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, as long as you tick in the EFAs, like even as a natty, your fats can get exceptionally low. I mean, if you're getting extremely lean as a natty, your hormones are going to crash regardless. Like, it doesn't matter how much fat you eat. If you're in a calorie deficit for 20 to 30 weeks, like, you're not going to have physiologic testosterone and estradiol. Like,
well, the other thing, the essential nutrients have a word to describe them. Essential fat. There's really 2 foods we need: essential amino acids and essential fatty acids, and they named them that because those are really the only things that are essential.
Yeah.
You're not going to thrive, but you can survive on just the essentials.
It's funny because like I get dudes that are on PEDs that are worried about taking their, and I'm like, dude, you're getting everything you need from the 3cc needle. You don't even have to worry about that shit. What are you even talking about?
Yeah, the Gamma test has got you covered.
I would say the majority of people, vast majority of people overeat fats.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because everyone talks about like the golden age of bodybuilding. I mean, I guess the golden era would be like the 70s, but the peak. If you look at the diets of the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, it was much lower fat approach. Especially like 95 through 98, maybe everyone was pushing extremely low fat diets. It was only protein and carbs. And
fish, rice, chicken, rice.
Yeah,
like
guys would prep on fish and rice, and then at the end just fish.
Even the guys in the 70s didn't eat that much.
You remember the old
ate high carb. Teddy Padilla ate high carb. Mike Mentor ate high carb. None of those guys ate a ton of fat. It was only Arnold, and Arnold's Arnold. Who cares?
You remember the old tilapia and asparagus at the end of prep?
Oh yeah,
in early 2000s.
Yeah, for years clients would ask, when do I have to switch to all white fish? That would be the first thing they ask.
It makes your skin thin.
Thank Phil Heath for that one. But no, that's the thing though. Like, I mean, I remember because my dad was into bodybuilding when he was younger, and a couple of his friends, like they've passed away now. They had one of them actually died from a mosquito bite when he was visiting family back in Tonga. But he was Mr. Universe a few times. His name was Saya Fainga. He was a Tongan. And he was built like a brick shithouse, but he what was it?
Sure, look at the screen.
He explained to my dad like how he died, and basically it was just
I'll send you
as
one
he got
back.
closer to the show, he'd just remove certain foods, like, and it would just be the fats, like the added fats would just get removed, the carbohydrate portions would just get smaller, protein portions would get a little bit bigger, cardio would go up. They just basically scaled shit. Like, it wasn't like, that's the thing. Like, Paul, you were saying it the other day in your post. Like, bodybuilding is pretty simple when you boil it down to the bare essentials. Like,
It's
eat
hard,
meat
but
and
simple.
rice. Yeah, eat meat and rice multiple times a day. Train hard, sleep just as well, so you can recover, and just repeat that over a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a coach, and I think people will benefit from a coach, but really, you can get about 90% of the max results, period, just by eating meat, lean meat, rice, training hard, and sleeping. I mean, and PEDs, obviously, but that, you don't have to measure your food. Just
Yeah.
try to eat a little. Yeah, try to eat
measure
more. Yeah, try to eat more chicken and rice in the off season. Eat less chicken. You're not going to be 100% dialed in, obviously. And if you want to win big shows and turn pro, you're going to need to, probably work with a coach and everything dialed in. But for the average gym rat, if you just ate lean meat and rice, 5 to 6 times a day and train hard, add some PEDs, you're going to get 90% of the results you could get. Period.
Yeah, I think what was it you told me, Justin? Be 90%, 100% of the time.
Yeah. That's the whole point of bodybuilding. Everyone worries about all these little minor things. Am I getting? What if I don't eat vegetables? Am I going to be deficient in this? Micromineral? Or it's like no. And everyone tries to be 100%, and they think like, well, or you'll hear people like, oh, I forgot my intra-workout. I might as well not work out today. It's like no. It's not about being 100% perfect. It's about being 90% perfect 100% of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Amy and Justin, this is probably for you, but Dave and Jackie want to know if you guys think fats are more important and sensitive for female athletes versus males. I've noticed that women tend to need a little more fat percentage-wise.
The hard part with females is they hear. I mean, it depends on where they're at in the sport. If they're just getting into the sport, all they hear from people is protein. And they like and my wife and all their friends. That's you eat more protein, and they don't have the metabolism to have that much protein. So you give a female a diet, and they're like they want 6 meals a day of 40 grams of protein a meal. It's like, well, there's no room for carbs and fat at that point if you're going to get shredded. And so it's good that they hear that, because so many women just without the sport eat such very low protein. But I always find like they get into the sport and everyone's telling them protein, and they see their boyfriend eating 60 grams of protein a day, and they don't realize that like if you're eating 6 meals a day, a lot of women need to go under 30 grams a meal if you're going to have any good amount of carbs and fats included as well, at least to get in shape.
And there are benefits, especially, is my audio better at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot better.
Okay. So there are a lot of benefits, especially for women in the off season who are not looking to really push PEDs in the off season, to getting fats up a little bit higher, because it does help hormonally. And there are some fats that are beneficial, like evening primrose oil and some other things that can help manage premenstrual symptoms and other types of symptoms. So
Gamma-linolenic acid in evening primrose oil is actually a metabolic uncoupler like DNP.
yeah, so there's definitely benefits from an overall
Justin
feeling
with the pull.
standpoint. Yeah. Now everybody's going to be like slamming the evening primrose oil, but because women's bodies are very sensitive too. I find personally that that's the one thing that I know for sure when I drop fats low, that I'm going to start having menstrual dysregulation, especially if I'm not staying on top of the quality of fat that I'm intaking. So as fats get lower, where that fat is coming from to me gets far more important.
Yeah. So yeah, at the end of like a contest prep for my female clients, I'll like minimum fish oil or krill oil, depending on which one they're taking. Like they'll have a certain amount. Like fish oil tends to be a bit higher. Like I'll prescribe more total milligrams or whatever. But I mean, at least 2,000 milligrams to 4,000 milligrams of EPA DHA a day when women are at the end of their contest prep. Like I need that in their diets. That's where I usually have that at. I mean, like you said, it's super important.
I keep mine in, to be honest with you. The EPA and DHA, I notice that I start to feel like shit if it gets yanked out.
That's the worst. There's no worse feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's that like there's like a weird energy drop that you can only experience if you're very lean and fats get very low. It's like you have no glycogen to burn and you got hardly any body fat left. There's no fat in the diet, and so your body's trying to find fat to use for fuel, and it's like it's hard to explain, but sometimes even breathing feels like when you go into mechanical breathing mode, your body's so tired if you don't force it to breathe, it doesn't even want to.
You'll start seeing people when they get super lean too. They'll start randomly going hypo too, as like just for no reason.
That's why. If I cut fats, because I like a modified form of HIIT cardio, not true HIIT, like kind of more of a cycling HIIT. But I drop that when fats get too low because people will go hypo.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably have no glycogen left anywhere. If your blood sugar dips, so your body, and then there's no fat to tap into as well. So your body is just running on fumes, essentially.
Yeah. I think
you're getting
that.
close. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I was just going to say, you're getting close to stage lean when that starts to happen. The hypoglycemia episodes.
Yeah, I remember my daughter was in softball, like the last time I dieted really hard when she was young. This is, 10, 15 years ago. Wow, geez, they're old now. But yeah, she wanted to play catch. And I remember it felt like I was throwing bowling balls, just no energy trying to throw the ball to her.
Yeah, the end of the prep blues. I get wound up at the end of the prep. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me.
Something.
I'm like the opposite of everybody else. It's like I just get jittery and I don't like. I have to cut the stimulants back. I backed almost nothing. I think I was at the end of my prep this year. I had completely dropped the ephedrine and caffeine like the last month, and then I was just on 40 or 60 micrograms of Clen. That was it.
That's crazy. Caffeine becomes my fourth food group when I'm dieting.
I think there's a part of that, Paul, that's somewhat like your body's defense mechanism. Like it's keeping you amped up to like be more aware. It's like
I guess.
Yeah. I think you can even view it evolutionarily. Like you get that lean, it's almost like your body has to be hyper aware of the potential of any food source being available.
Yeah. Like we cannot rest.
Sympathetic drive. Yeah. Yeah. It's I think it's evolutionary mechanism too. Yeah, I agree. Like hunter-gatherer times.
Yeah, if you don't find food, you're going to die. So you better be on point.
Yeah, well, glucagon, cortisol, and adrenaline are all related. They're also stress. So
there's the last time I was over 300, I filmed a shoulder workout for EliteFTS. If you go look at EliteFTS YouTube and like just Google Justin Harris shoulder, there's a shoulder workout. I was about 305.
Let's see if we can find it. This will be fun.
My face looks like a pumpkin.
I get the fat head when I start gaining weight.
Oh yeah, hats were not wearable. They just sat on top of my head.
Speaking of hats, you and Kurt both have the sharp looking hats.
I know. I text Kurt. I want one of those.
I'm gonna grab more now.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. You want one, Paul? I'll send you a hat.
Now that I'm back in Australia, I have to order some apparel from you guys. Trapone.
That's great.
The Pornhub logo.
My wife's like, "Is that 9-inch nails?" I was like, "Close, 9-inch something."
Oh man, your wife cracks me up, man. The first interaction I had with her is her sending me. There was like she was asking me something about the supplements, and then she sent me a picture of you on the piano. And she's like, "Here's this."
Oh, oh my God! My family's been making fun of me for that for 20 years. 2006 Junior USA. There we go.
Oh, got the bushy beard. And...
Yeah, it was too. I couldn't reach my face to shave.
You look like an extra from Spartacus.
Oh my gosh, you were huge.
Like what is it, gladiator fighter or whatever.
Yeah, I would have been great for about 3 seconds. Yeah, that was the last time I pushed my weight up. But that was like right before COVID. And I was like making a big push and I was getting big and then the whole world shut down. I was like, oh man, it's all for nothing.
You always have the rope veins, man. Your bicep veins are crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I had those when I was a kid. In elementary school, everyone would want me to make a bicep because I always had a vein.
I get veiny. I have more like the spider web. My dad's funny. He was always veiny. My dad never lifted a
Not
weight.
quite a military press, but
Justin getting after it, man.
Yeah.
When I went over to Dave's place for the interview, it was kind of surreal being in there after you've seen these videos.
yeah, it's crazy because you walk in and it's an office building, and then you go into the bathroom and there's a door on the other end of the bathroom, and you walk through the door and it's just this like 10,000-foot gym that you can't move in because there's so much equipment and
There's
no
so
one's
much
training.
equipment.
It's just you.
Yeah, there's nobody in there. I'm like, where's everybody at? And Dave's
It's
like,
just Dave's. That's Dave's home gym.
It's just Dave's gym. Yep. And once in a while he'll invite somebody on the train.
I definitely want to see that gym one day.
It's
One can
it's
train.
actually it's kind of like it's almost like a hoarder's gym now at this point. There's so much equipment in there.
It's dirty and dusty, and it's a really cool experience though. It was
Very
surreal being there. And Dave's so nice. He's
Oh
such a
yeah,
nice guy.
yeah. I love doing his podcast. You do 3 hours and it flies by like nothing.
I know I would have stayed there all day.
My
Yeah.
bladder started to.
Yeah, yeah.
it
That's
was-
always the limiting factor is when everyone has to pee.
Did
They
you do the
kept breaking.
coaster thing? Did you do the coaster thing with you to go to the bathroom?
No, what was that?
He
What's,
put like this. He has this black disc. I don't know what it's like. It's like a little frisbee, and he puts it on the table. And if you have to take a break,
Oh,
slide
funny.
it toward him.
That's
That way they
smart.
can stop filming because he doesn't want you to say anything that ruins the filming.
Oh, that's interesting. It's
Oh,
probably me that
okay.
did it. I was probably like, I gotta pee.
And they keep feeding you energy drinks too.
Oh, I know. Dude, I went there. He had these monster waters, and I thought they were just water. And I'm pounding them, and then after he's like, he wanted to film a back workout, and I was like, I think my heart's gonna explode. I don't know what. He's like, oh yeah, those have like 180 milligrams per 8 ounces. I had like 64 ounces. So things I should have assumed when they were monster, but they were just water.
Bonus water.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When I was there, it's funny that there was somebody commented on the video I saw just the other day. I always love looking at the asshole comments, and
Yeah.
like I wouldn't take advice from either one of these guys. They both got red faces and they're probably dead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm still alive, man. Sorry to disappoint you.
Sometimes they crack me up. Well, it's funny when they're good. So many of them are just weak. But when someone's got a really like clever comment ripping on you, I can appreciate it.
Yeah, I can. Well, we got Josh in here in the comment section. Josh is the clever troll. I keep Josh around because it's funny.
Yeah, I encourage people on my posts. If you got a good dig, I'll take it. Let's see what you got.
Josh always cracks me up.
Oh, someone wants details on Brandon's prep. It'd be once again. I am. I don't even know the word, but everything you hear about what the pros take as far as doses, it's genetics because Brandon uses baby doses. It's like every time you just got to pray to the genetic gods because you're all using more than Brandon Curry.
Yeah, I like Skip Hill's story about Phil Heath turning pro on 300
Oh,
milligrams on Deca.
Yeah.
500 milligrams test, 400 milligrams Deca. Took his last shot the morning of the show.
Yeah.
Because we at the junior national, I sat at a table with him, and we all knew he was going to win. We knew he was ready to turn pro. He did turn pro 6 weeks later, and we're asking, and he's asking about the diet. He's like, so did you guys eat like a lot of chicken? We're like, yeah, we ate a lot of chicken. And it was a little more precise than that, but he's asking about PEDs, and he's like, yeah, I did, I did them for this show. I don't know if we can talk about it. I'm like, yeah, we can talk about it. He's like, yeah, I did 500 milligrams, 400 milligrams at test, 500 milligrams test, 400 milligrams at Deca. And someone was like, well, Deca, he was like, did you pull that? Like, when did you take your last shot before the show? And he's like, this morning. We're like, man, this is not fair.
Yeah, you're not going to beat that guy, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, and then he met Flex, and Flex kind of told him what to do, and 6 weeks later he turned pro, and a month after that he won the Colorado Pro. 2 years later, 3 years later, he's Mr. Olympia.
Seemed like there for a while he was everybody's PED guru.
Who's that?
Flex Wheeler.
Oh yeah, all the pros, yeah. Well, Flex reportedly tried everything.
I believe that.
Yeah, he was. All right, let's grab some questions here. Kyle gave $19.99.
Oh, that's
Appreciate
awesome.
it, but he also
Wow.
forgot to ask his
Legend.
question with his money. Kyle, are you a researcher? You've got.
He looks like a doctor. Yeah, he's throwing.
Yeah.
I got more than I need. That's them.
Posted my super chat after my question regarding PCT only on HCG and FSH. Currently on 400 HCG 3 times per week. Do I stop the HCG for a month, or do I go right to 1,000 coming off of 200 tests and 25 VAR? What say ye, Kurt?
Let me just make sure I'm reading it correct. Go into 1,000 test.
Yeah, I'm
1,000
confused.
1,000 HCG, I think.
HCG coming off of
Oh,
200
1,000
tests.
each. I mean,
Yeah, he's wondering, does he just titrate straight up to 1,000 coming off of 200 milligrams of test and 25 milligrams of
I
VAR?
just wouldn't come off the test.
yeah. But he wants to titrate to 1,000 milligrams of HCG is the question.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
or
think
go
so.
straight to it.
You could just go straight to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't do much more than that with HCG.
Oh, wait, he's saying currently on 400 HCG 3 times a week. Do I stop it for a month completely or go right into the 1,000 HCG coming off?
Oh, coming
Oh,
off.
That's
I'm-
weird.
Yeah.
So so he's like, do I stop HCG for a month and then go into 1,000 of HCG a week, or do I just go straight from the 1,200 total I'm currently taking to 1,000? Because he's doing 400 3 times a week. I think that's what he's saying. It's a weird question.
Maybe he can rewrite it because I don't want to answer
Yeah.
that he paid.
Yeah. Paid him
there's-
money.
Is he trying to increase the HCG or is he trying to increase the test? What is he trying to
No, he's coming off the test.
I think
I think he's doing
asking-
PCT off the test, and I think he's on the HCG. Wants to know if he should increase from 400 to 1,000 3 times a week. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You could. Yeah, and you could go right there. There's no reason why
There's
you
also-
can't. I mean, you
there's
don't need
also-
much more than 1,000 to 1,500 HCG a week. After that, it becomes like bloat city.
There's also a debate whether or not PCT does much of anything.
No, but I mean, HCG will work, but like the outcome is going to, if you destroyed your HPTA, it's destroyed. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
It might make you get there faster, but the outcome's going to be the same.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be better to do like a combination of HCG and like recombinant follicle stimulating hormone, like HMG? Be better to just like do like
That
part of both.
HMG is the same as FSH.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I
He's
mean.
doing
I was just. Oh, he is doing that.
It
Is
says regarding.
Oh wait. Oh,
HCG
HCG and FSH. Oh, okay. I completely skimmed over that. Yeah. So he's already doing, polytherapy. So I mean,
How long
I
was he
think-
on 200 tests at 25 VAR? Because if it was like 12 weeks, he's probably going to come back if it was his first and only
Yeah.
cycle.
I mean, 200
Yeah.
tests shouldn't even be 100% suppressive.
Yeah.
yeah,
I would just think on your own, you would just come back.
definitely. Yeah.
I
Unless
talk
if
about-
you're really, really unfortunate, you'd have to really draw the short straw.
I talk about it a million times, but they had there's the Harlem study. You can look it up, but where they had, I don't know, it was like 100 guys that were on gear for a long time, like very suppressive amounts, and they had one group do PCT and the other didn't. And the long-term recovery, I think it was like after 8 months, was the same in both groups.
Yeah.
That was actually a really good study. There was like a lot of extrapolations you can pull from that. I mean, even on the side of cardiovascular disease risk, I think the ejection fraction on average depressed by 5 to 10%, with like a total of 900 milligrams a week for most people, and it took about 8 to 9 months to reverse, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, again, it's one study, so take it with a grain of salt. Or like, Just don't put like all your eggs in
Well,
one
I
basket,
used
but
to
it was
do
interesting.
I used to do echoes at one of the largest inpatient hospital in the nation, in the top 10 heart hospital. So we did more echoes than just about any hospital in the nation. And you would see, and I thought it was from the blood volume, if I had to guess. But you would, guys would come in and you could tell. And when I did their echo, they would kind of talk to me about it. But a normal ejection fraction is like 65%. But even like a normal functioning heart on a guy who was on gear, it would be about 55%. And I always assumed it was from just kind of the huge increase in blood volume, and that heart's got to pump against all that additional volume. It's not going to get the same contractility.
Yeah. Well, I thought that, and then I also thought maybe just the larger heart itself, with every contraction, it's going to pump more total blood, so the ejection fraction doesn't have to be as high. Like maybe it's an adaptation.
But
Do you think
the cavity will increase, but then the heart muscle thickens and the heart thickens into the cavity.
So
and
it cancels it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense in the blood volume. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
All right. Next question here. Flare 93. At which resting heart rate would you consider using a beta blocker, and which one would be useful?
I'm not a huge fan of beta blockers. They decrease exercise tolerance. They decrease your workload output. They can affect breathing. And if you have sleep apnea and you have, because it's blocking the beta 1 receptors in the heart, which slows the heart rate, but there's beta 2 receptors in the lung. You block those and the lung's less efficient. And when you combine that with sleep apnea, I mean, obviously there's a use case. If you have, resting heart rate of 110, and your blood pressure's high, it's not my favorite as a first line defense. Like it seems like it's becoming with bodybuilders where, as soon as they see a resting heart rate above, 85 or something, they want to be on a beta blocker. It's anti-clen. It's the opposite of clen, basically. So if you think of it that way, it's, your workload tolerance is going to be reduced. You're going to be less efficient at cardio. You're going to struggle with high intensity training as far as weight training. Your heart rate isn't going to be able to climb as high as you might need it to on a high rep set of squats. There's definitely a use case, and it's very, as far as like longevity, a lower heart rate is good. But as far as when you put everything together, if you're going to try to stay competitive in this sport, it's not my favorite to implement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nabivolol seems to be the go-to that most people use.
Yeah, everyone now. Yeah, because it seems to have beta 3 agonism, which is kind of there's beta 1 receptors in the heart, beta 2 receptors in the lung, beta 3 everywhere. The beta 3 you want to stimulate because that can kind of boost metabolism. But if you lower your artificially lower your heart rate and prevent it from getting high, don't be surprised if you can't do high rep leg work, or don't be surprised if your deadlift, or your bent over rows or things like that go to shit. It's always, obviously I'm not telling anyone not to focus on health, but it's not always my first line approach to improve health. If obviously if resting heart rate's 110 and your blood pressure's high, that's something you need to focus on more than your training, obviously. But guys, I see guys with, my resting heart rate's 85. Should I get on a beta blocker? It's like,
just self-medicating with prescription heart medicine is not taking care of your health.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
plain
Russian roulette.
Why your heart rate is elevated. Don't just, and the heart stuff, people should be screwing with their own heart. Like go see a cardiologist.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't start taking drugs. Your heart rate needs to elevate, and to live a long, healthy life, you have to be able to get your heart rate high, so your resting becomes lower on its own.
Exactly. Good
That's
point.
the way to fix your heart. You want to train intensely so your heart actually is pliable. If you falsely hold it down, you're not making yourself any healthier.
Yeah, that's a great point. You want to be able to get your heart rate up so you can have a low heart rate. You don't want to. You don't want to prevent your heart rate from going up, but to artificially have a low heart rate.
I don't know.
Nabivolol, by the way, is selective beta 1. So that's why guys tend to use it.
Yeah, it's interesting because not only is it block beta 1, but
well.
it seems to activate beta 3. It's really interesting, but I don't know. It's like The reason people have a low heart rate, like Kurt said, is because they've spent time getting their heart rate really high, and it becomes so effective that it doesn't need to pump fast at rest. If you bypass that whole system, you're not really. It's a shortcut that not doing the thing you think it's doing probably.
Yeah, the three things that
That's a fair
affect
point.
your heart rate the most, I think, and the low hanging fruit people need to address is their sleep quality, like how much and how good of a sleep they're getting, because that'll affect heart rate variability, resting heart rate. So unfucking their sleep is probably the first thing. The second thing would be incorporating cardiovascular exercise, like you guys said. The more cardiovascular fitness will naturally just suppress that resting heart rate more, and you'll have better heart rate variability throughout the day. And the third thing would just be stimulants. How much caffeine, how many stimulants are you consuming? Maybe you have a review of that. If you're that guy that's dry scooping pre-workout 3 times a day, maybe stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and weight gain, it doesn't matter if it's muscle or fat. Every time you gain weight, your stroke volume increases. Like it's not healthy to weigh 300 pounds, whether it's fat or muscle. It's not healthy.
Yeah. Well, that's
All right.
yeah.
Amy, I got a question for you. It's a liposuction question.
Bring it on.
JT, if a client is obese and gets liposuction, would their maintenance calories stay the same before and after? Since the fat is not metabolically active, benefit of higher maintenance after fat loss or not?
Yeah, they would stay the same. The amount of fat that we remove is pretty nominal when you think about how many, trillions of cells are in the human body. I mean, even if you're doing like large volume liposuction, now this is assuming you're already metabolically healthy going in. Liposuction is not meant for like massive weight reduction. It's really meant for body contouring. So there should never really be a point where you're removing so much fat that it's really going to change much with your resting metabolic rate. And initially, ultimately, your needs might be slightly higher because your body's working really hard to recover. Liposuction is extremely damaging to your body. It's pretty aggressive, and your body doesn't know the difference between surgery and injury. So when you kind of just violently rip all this fat out, there's a recovery need there. So I never want people to drop their calories after surgery because they're not going to heal as efficiently. So it's important to, know that going in. But people always think that, liposuction is going to be this magical fat loss tool or weight loss, and it's not. Your weight probably won't change after just a normal amount of liposuction.
Yeah, and you need to find a good doctor, because if you've ever seen bad contouring, you can, where it's all dimpled, and if you can see it a lot on celebrities. Who was one? Lindsay Lohan, I remember, got liposuction, and it was very obvious in her midsection. It was not done well, and it looked like a golf ball.
Yeah, and it is really hard to come back from bad liposuction for 2 reasons. Primarily if you have irregularities, like those we can usually fix. However, we've seen several cases where patients come to us who have been overly cleaned out, where they have taken way too much fat. So the skin is almost adhering to the fascia layer of the muscle. And there's not a lot we can do. I mean, we have to go in and we call it subcising and kind of cut these scar tissue bands that are now attaching that skin too closely to the muscle wall, and try and add some fat back in to give that cushion back. The other thing is if your legs are overly cleared out, you get weird irregularities. Is that Lindsay Lohan? Or is
I
that
don't
just
know who it is.
a bad lipo? I'm that skin looks like that of a 50-year-old woman, not a.
just bad lipo.
Yeah.
I pulled up bad lipo.
Oh yeah, it's devastating. I mean, it's really hard. Those are some of, see, there's an example of somebody who's just overly cleaned out about the umbilicus right there, and that's why that's stuck. It just, some of these too, some of these issues will resolve as people heal. It might look really irregular at first, but as you heal, it gets, things kind of loosen up and get better. But I mean, there are definitely times where people come to us and there's really not a lot we can offer them, especially on the legs. If they've had too much liposuction on the back of the thigh, it can make your cellulite look way worse. It can cause your butt to drop. I mean, it can be pretty bad. You definitely, like Justin said, you go to somebody, don't go to Sonobella. I mean, there are some good doctors at Sonobella. I'm not trying to knock them as a company, but
that Alabama long butt.
Yeah, going to someone who really specializes in body contouring is really key.
I had it done in my 20s, a long time ago. I had my love handles and lower back done, and they fucked it all up. The guy I went back in a few years ago, he cleaned it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and as long as there's still fat there, we can fix it.
But I had lumps.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We can make irregularities go away if there's still enough fat left to kind of smooth things out.
It was the same dude that botched my gyno surgery too. He fucked all of it up. Yeah, 20 years ago. I remember like somebody telling me like, well, you should make him go back and fix it. I'm like, why would I go to the guy that fucked it up to fix it?
No, that's only going to make it worse.
That's doubling down on a bad bet. I'm not going back to the guy that fucked
It's like
it up.
Ronnie. Remember when he was on Rogan? He's like, do you ever get a second opinion? He's like, no. Just same doctor, all 14 surgeries.
Oh, man. All right, Kurt, this one's going to make your head explode. Dave Marcus says, if microdosing tests daily, is there any real benefit to sub-Q or intramuscular injections?
No, why would you put an oil sub-Q?
Thank you.
It doesn't make any sense. Doctors did this because people are afraid of needles. So they were like, well, if you use an insulin needle, it doesn't hurt. It's just not the way it's supposed to be absorbed.
Yeah.
Put it in the muscle.
You're taking something that has such an extremely low risk of bacterial infection, oil-based stuff, and making it a risk for infection.
And lumps and discomfort, and it's not absorbing properly. And again, unless you're a super high aromatizer, why are you injecting your test, like microdosing your test? You're not going to get much out of it. You're literally just mimicking what your testicles were doing at that point. Like, you might as well just stay natural.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not into whatever's happened in the last 10 years in endocrinology. We're going to change all that crap because it's all wrong.
The TRT doctor stuff, some of the crazy shit I see is just insane.
Just so fucking stupid. There's a
Well,
reason
that bothers me a lot because we're going to ruin this Goldilocks phase we have where TRT is so readily available. You know, we're going to ruin it. It's going to be not a thing again.
Yeah. I have a good one for you. I did a consult with the guy. I hope I'm not ratting him out, but his doctor had him on 100 milligrams of test, and he told him that his test levels were too high, and he lowered him down to 40 milligrams. I sent this to Kurt.
Oh,
40.
God.
What the fuck?
What's her
40
name now?
milligrams? What is 40 going to do?
What is it? SIP?
Well, factor out the ester, like 33% for SIP.
That's what's a natural male, like 10 to 20 milligrams a day? Like your natural
11. Like 11 on the top end.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
That works out after the ester is removed to a whopping 4 milligrams of testosterone a week, assuming that's actually measured correctly and that it's right. Most tests is giving a lose them in heat, so it's not really dosed at 200. That's if it's a perfect 200 milligram bottle, you'd be getting 4 milligrams a day.
Well, he was asking me,
and
what
that's
he should do,
assuming
and
he's absorbing 100% of it.
Yeah,
he was asking me what he should do, and I said, fire that fucking doctor.
Yeah, find a new doctor.
Buy a bottle of test and learn how to do it yourself.
Yeah, the doctors it's so weird with doctors. Like, you know, as a male, I have low test. Can you give me testosterone? No. As a female, you walk in, here's a bunch of hormones.
When you're 14,
you're 12.
I feel like I'm a boy trapped in a girl's body. All right, here you go. Here's not
even that. Even if you're just a straight girl not trapped in a girl's body, it's like you're 14 years old. I had my first period. We're here. These will make you regular. Here's a bunch of hormones.
Isn't birth control methyl estradiol?
Yeah, it's just conjugated estrogens. Yeah.
And they give it to 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Well, look at it this way.
I was in the doctor's office this one time. This 13-year-old girl was in there, and they wanted to get on birth control, and the doctor was like, she's there with her dad, and the doctor's like, well, is she sexually active? And the dad goes, nah, she just lays there like her mom. Sorry.
Oh man,
this is in Alabama.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that in Alabama?
Justin filling in the jokester for Colin since he's out today.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, here's another one, Kurt. If using an Anastrozole with 2 times a weekly test injections, difference in using the same day or take an Estradiol day after test?
No, Rimonix is 2-day half-life. It doesn't matter when you take it. But a lot of times 2 times a week might not be enough to keep the estrogen under control. You might want to split it and, every other day, 0.5 milligram. I don't know what dose.
Exemestane you'd get away with twice a week, eh?
The problem with the exemestane, aromacin's not an effective drug in men. So we should really get away from using that. That's an effective drug in women after tamoxifen therapy for 5 years, premenopausal. In men, it doesn't seem to block estradiol. It seems to block estrone. So
Oh,
that's why on
okay.
these
So
labs,
only
you
only
type up
only
aromatase,
one.
estrogen through the roof still. It's
Oh,
just
wow.
not an effective drug for men. That's why it's not written. Like in the United States, no endocrinologist is writing aromatase for a man. The guidelines for prescription are post tamoxifen for 5 years. Then it's given.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it's not
That
like
makes sense.
I would just get rid of it. And also, even the theory, even if it worked, why would you want to kill estrogen receptors? Like, why would you
Yeah.
want to destroy receptors for any reason? Like, you don't, one day you're not going to want, like, Paul and I both have super low estrogen now. Like, think I want to get rid of some estrogen receptors? No, just get leaner.
Yeah.
Arimidex is the only one that people should use. Letrozol's most likely too harsh for most guys.
Yeah,
It would be a
letrozol's
timeout.
rough.
You know,
Letrozol's brutal.
What's your thought on aromatase being a suicide inhibitor? And, you know, because then you don't, it's permanently binds. So when you stop it, your estrogen doesn't recover until you produce new enzymes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
how long does that
say
take?
on purpose? I
Yeah.
wouldn't purposely get rid of. I wouldn't get rid of receptors.
Because what are you gonna when you come off testosterone or just go down to a TRT dose? What are you gonna do then? Like you're gonna have such
I
a
wonder
low
if that's
response.
why my estrogens crashed, because I used aromatase on my prep.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I mean, to some extent, if you're going to come out of a prep and blast test in the off season, there's some, because if you stop Arimidex right away, then you can get a little estrogen rebound. when those enzymes get freed again. So in some cases like that, like a suicide inhibitor, if you're going to be blasting a gram of test right after the show and not using any AIs. But yeah, if you're on a heavy cycle and using aromatase, and then you stop everything and go to like a TRT or a cruise period, your estrogen is going to be rock bottom.
Well, that's what happened to me. That's in the exact scenario I was in. Well, that explains some things.
Yeah.
All right. Another paid chat. We got a lot of them today. This is a good one. Daniel Popovsky. What are the best bodybuilding tips for a natural?
Don't get fat.
Cardio.
Yeah, don't try to get big. It's not, you're not going to get huge. You're just going to get fat, and it's going to reduce your ability to grow because your testosterone production will be blunted and your aromatization rates will increase. Try to stay lean, look good, lean and ripped and muscular. And that's your best bet. You're not going to be 250 pounds and huge. You're going to be 250 pounds and fat. Be 195 and shredded, and everyone will think you're jacked.
Yeah, I was
You
going
are
to say
jacked.
patience is probably the big thing I'd recommend.
Maybe not
Because like in
195.
the first few years, you'll gain 80% of your lifetime natural gains, and then you spend the next decade gaining the other like 10 to 20%.
There's a question by Zionic on Nabivolol I want to discuss. Is Nabivolol as a selective beta 1 antagonist? I don't know. I don't understand how it can be selective to antagonizing the heart and also allow your heart rate to increase. He says, Nabivolol will allow your heart rate to increase for exercise.
I think bisoprolol is more selective.
If it's selective to beta 1, that's its whole action is to suppress heart rate. I don't understand how it allows your heart rate to increase if its only action is to suppress it. That's like saying, caffeine will let you sleep.
Yeah, I don't know what Zionic's going on about there.
Yeah, so here's what it says. I'm asking ChatGPT. ChatGPT is so handy.
I know.
It said, yes, Nabivolol does allow for a relatively higher heart rate compared to other beta blockers due to its unique pharmacological profile. Here's why. Beta 1 selectivity. Nabivolol is highly selective for the beta 1 and adrenergic receptor, which I probably slaughtered that, which are primarily responsible for the heart rate contractility. While it does reduce heart rate, it tends to do less dramatically than other selective beta blockers or beta blockers like Atenodol or Metoprolol.
So it's basically less effective.
It also has nitric oxide mediated vasodilation. Nabivolol enhances nitric oxide release, leading to vasodilation, which can help with increased heart rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting molecule. It's an interesting beta blocker. I just, it can't block beta receptors and allow beta receptors to be active. I mean, there's
a third one on here. Preservation of sympathetic tone. Nabivolol has minimal effect on beta 2 receptors, preserving sympathetic control of blood vessels, and other organs, this can also result in a more stable and increased heart rate in response to physical activity and stress. So there you go. There's the
Yeah, I got to read up on it more. It's an interesting molecule, but
I'll tell you what,
ChatGPT
bisoprolol is strong as hell. I mean, I'm on 5 milligrams of bisoprolol.
Yeah.
My heart rate when I'm asleep is in the 30s.
Holy crap.
Like, yeah, it's like, it scares me sometimes. I think to myself, that can't be healthy. I don't know what my nurse is doing, but yeah.
You're Lance
What am I-
Armstrong.
Yeah. But yeah, right now, resting heart rate's like 52 beats per minute, 51.
Wow.
And I'm like sitting here talking. Pretty low.
Mine hasn't been that low since I was in college playing 4 hours of basketball a day.
Yeah.
Back on the natural thing, though, yeah, I wanted to touch on that again. You're 100% right, Justin. I've seen so many natty guys that will just eat and eat and eat and put on 40, 50 pounds, think they're gaining muscle, and then they just, all they're doing is getting fat.
I mean, you can look impressive, and if you see any like the top natural competitors, they look huge on stage. I mean, they're 160 pounds, but shredded, with your shirt off, looks huge. But that's about the best you can get. You're not going to look huge in a 3X shirt.
You ever notice that the natty guys seem to be able to get harder on
Yeah,
stage?
yeah. Well, they don't have the. I mean, there's
No water
they don't have the
retention
water
for drugs.
retention.
Yeah.
Really, I
That's
mean,
the thing.
the easiest way to tell also is their shoulders. Natural guys will have really flat delts and really
Like stringy.
striated delts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. But I mean, I think it's also too, like, let's be honest, a lot of assisted guys, they probably make the switch too soon and they don't know how to diet hard or train hard. And it's almost like they use the anabolics as a crutch. And it's like, instead of when they're hitting a plateau, instead of doing like a diet break, adjusting their nutrition and training, managing fatigue, they just up the dose or throw another compound in. And you can only do that like to a certain extent and still see a positive outcome. Eventually it doesn't achieve the look that you want. And yeah, then you get all these guys coming in that look under conditioned and yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Man, this dude is obsessed with the fat question. He's back again. So what is the lowest amount of fat I can consume as a natural bodybuilder?
I mean, it's just proportional to your calorie count, and there's not like a number. It's just, again, like, eat good foods, eat whole meat protein sources, eggs for protein, lean meats, rice, oatmeal, potatoes for carbs, avocados, some nuts for fats. It just there is no what's the lowest, what's the highest, what's the extreme. That's not how it works. It's eat good, healthy foods. Don't eat too much of them that you get fat. When you're dieting, eat less of them. It's really, there is no like, what's the extreme I can take it to? There's no answer for that.
Yeah. I can quote how low some of my friends' dietary fat intake gets, and they're some of the best pro natural bodybuilders in the world. They'll get as low as about 25, 30 grams a day at the end of prep. That's just but that's what they do. I'm not saying that's what he should do. I'm just saying,
that's for prep.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to calories have to be so low, and you're going to suppress testosterone. It's like, what's the lowest fat you can consume and survive, or lowest fat you can consume and look good, lowest fat you can consume and be strong. It's not just you can go to zero fats, if you'll get shredded and be miserable and have zero testosterone, or you can go really high in fats and not ever get shredded. It's just too many. It's too nuanced of a question, But yeah, if you're gonna compete as a natural bodybuilder, there's no way calories will get low enough to be true contest shape shredded without fats getting pretty low. Like Nick said, 20, 30 grams a day.
Yeah,
But that's not optimal for hormone production. So, is it your question, lowest fat you can consume for optimal hormone production, lowest fat you consume to be in contest? It's a loaded question. It's too difficult to answer.
Jess says Mike Israel has fat recommendations for natties. I don't know if I love Mike, but
30% of your total calorie intake.
I usually, like, when I'm dieting people down with the natty guys, I'll supplement in some EFAs, some flax and fish oil, and then I try to keep the protein sources as lean as I possibly can get them. like chicken breast, I mean, you're still going to get some fat.
Yeah, it's calorie
saturated
proportional. I probably have fat calories. I don't know, maybe somewhere like 10 to 20% higher for naturals than I do for non-naturals. So their carbs will be lower, their protein will be a little bit lower, but it all comes down to, you need a certain calorie count to get in shape.
Kurt, this is a question for you, Dr. Lipschitz. So aromatase destroys the receptor permanently as well as the aromatase enzyme?
It doesn't affect it's not affecting the enzyme. It's destroying the receptor.
Interesting. I didn't.
It binds to the enzyme. It stays bound to the enzyme permanently, but it doesn't destroy it. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not a hormone expert.
Well, we got the hormone.
I just stay at a Holiday Inn.
Okay, question here. This will be the last one. Will any of you incorporate SLU-PP-332 with yourselves or your clients? Really excited for this one.
I gotta go, guys.
Bye, Kurt.
Hey, Kurt.
I know Steve has been talking about it a lot lately. I am going to make a video about it. I've actually been looking into it.
I'll watch the video because I don't really know much about that, to be honest.
I'm on the fence about it. I put it in after my last MRI, and I'm going to get an echo to see if there's any improvement. So I've tried to keep all other variables constant, so I can see if it has any impact on things like cardiovascular function, stuff like that, or remodeling of the heart.
I'll be interested to see your results because I don't have like any data on it right now.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean, it'll be N=1 data, but it's still data, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'd be cool to see. I know that the other SLU is more effective for cardiovascular improvements than the 332, but that's the only one that seems to be readily available at the moment.
SLU, I have my notes here, is a synthetic compound that functions as a pan-agonist of estrogen-related receptors, specifically the ERRA, ERR-beta, and ERRY, which have potential exercise mimetic, meaning that it can replicate the physiological benefits of physical exercise. Effectively activates all three ERR isoforms. Metabolic effects. It seems to upregulate mitochondrial functions. I think the main benefit of it, from what I understand. It's an interesting thing. I know guys have been pairing it up with the Retatrutide. I think that's what Chase was doing. I don't know. I mean, anytime anything new like this is out, it always kind of scares me.
Yeah, I don't like to have, you don't like to make your clients guinea pigs, but that's the problem is anytime there's a new compound, everyone wants to try it, but there's always new compounds, and how many of them become, how many of them are still incorporated in our approach to things 10 years down the road? Almost none of them. So it's whenever I see a new one, every client, it's like the Nabivolol. It's interesting for sure, but I don't like that just immediately everyone wants to jump on it because there's new stuff like that every 6 months, and 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we're still all using, it's still the basic stuff. Everyone, none of those things stick. Very few of them become a permanent mainstay in the sport. And so I just don't like throwing all my clients on these things when I know 90% of them will not be used in a decade.
Yeah.
I have been on Nabivolol for close to a decade. I've been prescribed it by my doctor for, I have a abnormal Q wave, and I've had it my entire life. Yeah, I don't know why.
What's abnormal about it?
I don't recall. My doctor told me it was probably congenital. I was probably born with it.
Are you sure is it sure Q? Because there's a QRS complex. There's no Q wave. Is it P or T wave?
I don't recall off the top of my head, Justin.
Because an abnormal P wave would be like a winky Bach or something like that, and that would eventually cause arrhythmias. P wave is before, that's the atrial contraction before the ventricular contraction, and because the electrical signal originates like up at the top of the heart, and it goes through the atrium, through the Purkinje fibers and the bundle branches, and then to the ventricle. And if there's something wrong in that early part, that's what I would guess it would be. But I'd be curious for personal interest.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at my my medical stuff, but they had speculated that it might have been from the Lyme disease.
Oh,
that I
yeah.
have.
Yeah, interesting.
But then the last time I had my heart checked, it didn't show up.
Interesting.
So
Maybe Nibivolol's working.
yeah, it didn't show up. So yeah.
Interesting.
The SLU, when they administered it in mice, the mice were able to run longer distances. It also seemed to increase fatty oxidation and improved insulin sensitivity. So I don't know.
Sorry, CP.
Yeah.
Everybody's-
I'm like choking on the microphone.
All right. I think that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap this one up. I've got a bunch of stuff to do today. Oh, and thank you, Coco Pam. I don't know what that is, but I appreciate the contribution and glad we could help you out with your question. All right, folks, thank you for watching. We appreciate all your support. Have a great rest of your